Yeah, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he's been there a while. I don't think you guys have faced Jordan Travis yet, mainly due to injury. Can you just evaluate what he adds to that offense, not having seen him yet?
No, you're right. He's been injured both years. So very athletic, first of all. I mean, he can run with the football. Comparing him last year to this year, last year I thought he was an athlete playing quarterback. This year he's a quarterback. He's throwing accurate passes. He's reading coverage. He's giving his receivers chances to make plays. He's moving around in the pocket, extending plays, not just to run. I think he ran to run, would scramble to run, where now he's continuing to keep his eyes downfield. He's playing really good football. And like most quarterbacks, the longer you play, the better you get. And he's got a lot more game reps now.
David.
Hey, Dave. I know Bryson Spees is really kind of like a Swiss Army knife for you guys, but it seems like he was at left tackle a good bit, especially in the second half. Is that something we should expect to see more often?
Yeah, I think, Spees is that for us. He can play every position but center. He probably could play there if we moved him there, but he's been rotating with Tim McKay and Belton in the game. We felt like we needed more help on the left side. It was a tough matchup at times. And sometimes you get in that environment and, just having a more experienced guy. Spees went in the game and handled the crowd noise better and was having more success. So we rode with him. But I've said this to you guys before. We look at all three of those guys as starters, and, it's great to have the ability to rotate guys and help, when one guy maybe he's not playing as good as he has been, and have an answer for that. It's nice to have that ability.
Aaron.
Hey, Dave, you guys didn't run the ball particularly well, obviously, and there weren't many openings up front. I guess, how do you balance the part of you're not going to face many fronts with that level of talent the rest of the year versus the amount of, how you guys executed in that game?
Well, I think you're right about the first thing. I think that D line was special for them. Really special. And so probably got a little impatient, Aaron, with the run game. When you get down by 2 possessions, sometimes that happens. I think the game flow did that a little bit in the second half. But, I think moving forward, we want to be more balanced than we were in that game. Sometimes with RPOs, the ball goes where the ball goes too. It's not because we didn't want to hand it off. The read told him to throw it. So sometimes those plays that are called are runs that are being called. It's just, if we're going to put a screen with the run and they don't play it, a certain way, we're going to throw it out there to the screen. And so, on the stat line, it'll look like we're not running the football a whole lot, but that's really not what's happening in the play call. So that happens a little bit too. But, I think it's a combination of a really good D line, the RPO, how that played out, and us not being patient enough at times with running the ball.
Andrea.
Dave, you just mentioned this is an opportunity to respond. I'm wondering what you've seen out of the guys since you've been back, or what you need to see out of them during practice this week in terms of just their mindset when it comes to that.
Yeah, they were like all of us. We were tired, first of all, yesterday. We got home at 4 a.m., and so that doesn't help. But everyone was mad, frustrated, disappointed, tired. And by the end of it, they were ready to move on. And today, I know they'll have juice. They'll be ready to practice. And our leadership and experience on this football team will help in a situation like this. And last year, we had similar things. We lost a tough game by 1 to Miami and responded with one of our best games against Louisville, I think, the next week. So, I think it's just the team that knows how to do that. And we're gonna have our hands full. We got a really good team coming in here, but judging by how we've responded in tough situations in the past, I know this team will be ready to play on Saturday.
Todd Gibson.
David just kind of answered what I was just going to ask, but is there a couple of players on the team that you look for to help the guys through this, to get them on to next week that you can point towards to help them put the game behind them?
Yeah, I mean, you're veterans. We talked with the leadership council first and then with the team, but, Isaiah Moore Devin Leary, Grant Gibson, guys that are captains, Drake Thomas, that's where you look first. And then within the position groups, there's kids in each room, that understand that the season's not defined by one game, and it is if you allow it to be, and it turns into multiple games. So there was a lot of good things said in the room, and I know those guys will take it to heart. It is a close group, and there's a good demeanor about them. So there's no concern on that side. The concern is just we're playing a great team this week, so I don't think it's going to be whether or not we're ready to play. We got to play good enough to win.
Chip,
Yeah, Coach, I know you've talked a lot about Thayer Thomas and what he means to the team. Have you had many players that have maximized their talent to the point that from a walk-on basically to being a major cog in an offense like he is in yours?
Yeah, I mean, on defense at Wisconsin, we had JJ Watt, who obviously is one of the greatest to ever play, that walked on. I haven't really on offense had a player like that. We probably had an offensive lineman at Wisconsin that was similar to that at a different position group, but Thayer's unique and what he's done here. I mean, if you really dig into his story and look at what he's done, like to his body since he got here too, like he's a 150 some pound guy. I mean, the pictures of him, obviously it's 5 years ago now. But talk about a change, physically, and he deserves all the credit for that, for the time and what he does on a daily basis, like from a recovery standpoint, what he does in the weight room, what he does in the training room, on the jugs machine and film study. He's very unique, and there's above the 1 percentile line when it comes to his work ethic.
Aaron,
Yeah, Dave, what would you say is the next step is sort of developing or growth for your receivers at this point?
I think just connecting on more deep balls, and this isn't all on them, right? I mean, we're overthrowing balls too. So I think just getting that downfield production to be more consistent, putting the ball where they can catch it for Devin Leary, giving those guys a chance to go up and make plays. And then when he does that, making the play. We've had a pretty good history here since Kelvin Harmon to Mecca Mezzi. I think Devin Carter does a nice job going up for deep balls, but we win a lot of 50-50 balls here. We have for a while, we need to get back to that. And that's not just on the receivers or the tight ends or the backs. It's the entire offense, give the quarterback a chance to make that throw, then make the throw, and then go up and finish the play. I think that's the thing that we can improve on. We're catching the ball underneath. You're seeing some good yards after contact. The guys are blocking better than they have in the past. It's just being more explosive and connecting with them so they have a chance to be more explosive.
Brian Murphy.
Hey, Dave, thanks for taking the call. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what's happening in the profession. I think we've seen 5 or maybe more coaches let go already this season, and what that kind of says to you about, I don't know if it's the calendar change, the portal, the early signing date, or just less patience. But when you see colleagues of yours being let go so early in the season, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't really like it. I mean, I think it's crazy how hard we work all off season and summer and fall camp, and you sign kids, you develop kids, you get into the season, and then 3, 4, 5 weeks in, it's done, and as there's a lot of time left. There's 7 games left. I mean, if you win 7 games, I mean, even if you were 0-5, you're in a bowl game, and so there's a lot of season left. I don't disagree with you that a lot of these decisions are now being made because of the portal and because of early signing dates and people wanting to get in front of, recruiting their classes and things like that. The student athletes are the ones that are getting cheated right now because they're having to play their seasons with a lesser staff, in some cases, multiple coaches. I think Colorado fired the head coach and their defensive coordinator the other day. So it's just new, and it's going to be something we got to get used to, I guess. Things don't usually go back to the way they were when things start going faster in this world. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a great trend, but it's not my job to make those decisions.
Andrea.
Dave, as a follow-up to what Aaron asked about the receivers, obviously everyone likes to focus on the quarterback, and there were high expectations for Devin coming into the season. What's your evaluation of the way he's played so far?
I think some good, some bad. I think there's a multitude of things. It's hard to probably put in a couple sentences. I mean, he's had some games where he's really looked really good. And then in this last game, I thought he played really tough. He took some shots in the Clemson game and he just kept battling, and his toughness, his work ethic. He's throwing the ball underneath and intermediate really well. And I think from a deep ball standpoint, we just got to get that a little tuned up. But I think the first game, he was trying to be perfect. And after that, he's improved each week. And this last game, I thought he did some really good things. Just at times he didn't have a chance. Andre, their pass rush was a factor in that game. So I think you have to give them some credit there too. But I'm excited about the direction he's going. I think he's really noticed some things that he can do. He's looking at little things. His leadership has been awesome. So I look forward to the next 7 games with him and 1 week at a time.
Aaron,
Yeah, Dave, I know you guys, obviously the first priority is winning the game, but you just played in the first top 10 matchup in program history. You had the national TV audience, a lot of attention. There's the variables that go into each week outside of the game with recruiting and so forth. How much value do you think your program got out of the past week with all the attention?
No, it was great for our program and it was earned, that was a top 10 team being us against a top 5 team on national television. And it was a heck of a football game. It was. And so I think let's not forget that. I'm proud of our staff and our players and all that. But I'd rather win, but I think it was great to answer your question. And, I think this team's earned respect for the first time in my tenure here. I can say that. I mean, last year we were ranked and lost a game by 1 point and we dropped out of the top 25, and with 1 loss. And so, I think there is some respect for this team and what it can do. Obviously, it's just getting back on track now. And in the Atlantic Division, that's easier said than done. We're going to play back-to-back. This will be our second of 3 against undefeated teams, because the team we play next has a bye week this week at 5-0. So the schedule doesn't get easier.
Chip,
Yeah, Coach, I know you were a young guy when Florida State first came into the league in the early 90s, but do you have a good appreciation for what them entering the ACC did for ACC football in terms of the talent they brought in, other teams having to close that gap and facilities and the other things that they did?
Chip, probably not the way you do. I have great respect and grew up being a great college football fan and watching all of Bobby's teams. And Coach Bowden is, a mentor and a role model in this sport for coaches. And so I've studied them. I used to love watching them play. And so many of their players are guys that I was fans of growing up watching. So I have a lot of understanding of that, but as with regard to how it changed the ACC, I wasn't here for that and was part of other conferences during that time. So it didn't really pay attention to that part of the question.